Many thanks for staying with us on Fafanua Afrika. Apologies, we had to go on a quick break to fix some technical issues, but we still have our guest with us, Rosemary Ochiwo, and we have someone else joining us, a legal practitioner, Festus Oguns. Thank you, Festus, for joining us. Festus, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Rosemary, can you please confirm that you can hear us as well? All right, I think we're still having issues with Rosemary's audio, but we have Janet Awo now. Janet, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me now?
Fantastic. Yes, I can, loud and clear. All right, Janet and Festus, we're going to continue while we wait for Rosemary's audio to get fixed. Now, Festus, we're just generally talking about the youth understanding their rights and knowing, you know, when to quote the Constitution, what to do in certain situations and all of that, especially when they're confronted with such issues. Now, it's so sad that we've seen the youth over the years intimidated, get slighted, manipulated, and some people have even lost their lives, you know, while being confronted with this kind of situations. Who do we blame for this kind of issues? Is it the government? Is it the youth not knowing what to do? Is it the security officers? Is it the trigger-happy couple, trigger-happy cops?
I think in my respectful view.
Okay, Festus, please go first. Go ahead, please.
Pardon me? I'm saying most respectfully that it is my considered view that the rate at which security agencies violate the rights of young people in Africa is partly or mainly related to the fact that there are no consequences for impunity. Why do I make this quite bold submission? The answer lies in the fact that we have the laws, quite frankly, that guarantees and protect the rights of our people, the rights of the young people. However, when we have cases of breach of these rights, there are no consequences for officers, for agencies that violate this right. And the reason is partly because those who are ordinarily meant to question them are beneficiaries of the violation. So the same, you know, political elites that use the police to oppress and intimidate young people will definitely shy away when called upon to reprimand such police officer, yes, who get to reprimand, who get to, you know, violate the rights of these young people. So you see on a daily basis, even yesterday here in Lagos, you see how, you know, police officers went ahead to disperse in a very violent and unacceptable manner, you know, young people who were demonstrating, you know, in respect of, you know, the late singer Mohbad, who died in a very, very circumstantial manner. Again, I said it again, that to protest, for example, as a young person or as an individual is a fundamental right. And when you say protest, you don't even need to tell me whether the protest is violent or not, because once it is violent, it is not a protest. So when young people are out there to express their displeasure in the manner in which one of their own died, why should the police go there to disperse them in such a violent manner? When Section 39, 40, and 41 of the 1999 Constitution completely guarantee the right to freedom of expression, the right to movement, and the right to expressly, express displeasure by way of demonstration, whether you call it procession, whether you call it protest. But again, now the police officers have violated the rights of these young people. They will do it again because those officers that were involved in yesterday's violation will not be made to answer questions for the brazen violation of the rights of our people. That is why the problem persists, in my respectful view. That is why the protest persists. It is not about the inadequacy of the laws. I've said it. It is the absence of the political will on the part of the authority to enforce and respect the fundamental rights of our people.
All right, Festus. Okay, thank you so much for that. Now, very quickly, Janet, I want us to take a look at some of the basic things in the Constitution. I mean, off the top of your head, the most important things that the youths need to know that is embedded in the Constitution, very quickly.
Thank you. Every Nigerian youth has duties, liabilities, rights, privileges that have been enshrined in our Constitution. Now, there are certain constitutionally guaranteed rights under Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution. We have the fundamental rights, which are inalienable. Inalienable meaning that these rights are impossible to be taken away. These rights are not transferable. We have the fundamental rights as contained in our Constitution. We have the right to life, the right to dignity of human persons, the right to personal liberty, the right to fair hearing, the right to private and family life, the right to freedom of thought, the right to conscience and religion, the right to freedom of expression, and of course peaceful assembly and association. And so these rights have been guaranteed under the Constitution and under other international instruments. So now the right to life, I just mentioned the basic rights now that Nigerian youths need to know about. We have the right to life, which is a fundamental right, meaning that it is inherent in every individual. As far as you're born, you have this right. It is your fundamental. You have a fundamental right to life. Now, the Constitution guarantees the right to life to every Nigerian youth, except for such a situation where a person has been sentenced to death by a competent court of law, or in cases where enforcement agents are defending life and property of a citizen or seeking to prevent escape of persons. Now, the right to dignity of human person, it prohibits torture, inhuman or degrading treatment of any Nigerian, and also forbids any Nigerian citizen from being held in slavery or forced labor. The right to personal liberty, the right to personal liberty provides for citizens' right to remain silent or avoid answering questions of law enforcement officers until consultation with a lawyer. It further provides that anybody who is arrested must be notified in writing of the offense and should be brought to court within the maximum period of 48 hours. In the case where a citizen is unlawfully detained, such a person is entitled to compensation and an apology from the appropriate authority. Now, the right to fair hearing. This provides that all citizens, it provides all citizens an impartial court of law, and goes further. It provides that citizens
all right, Janet, that's just to mention a few. Thank you for that. We will still come back to some of the very important things that the youth should know about their rights. Thank you for that so far. But in the meantime, don't forget this is a youth show, and we'd like to get the opinions of the youth regarding this issue. So let's take a look at the streets across Africa to see what the youth are saying about it.
I really believe that we do not yet have that. We've not really been given that 100% right, like what we really want as of like. I guess we have the numbers, we have the voices, but it usually doesn't pull through whatever we hope to fight for and fight against. It's just something that It's just like almost everything that goes up the paper, nothing profound really comes out.
First thing I do is that I speak up. I speak up whether online through my SM handles, my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, or I speak up offline. Of course, I engage in engagement, say outrightly and blatantly what it is that I agree or do not agree with. The second way is I support NGOs. So I give to NGOs, or I'm a part of NGO. I've been part of Amnesty International for the past 4 years. So that's a second way by which I secure my rights. And thirdly, I stand up when I have the opportunity, like in 2020 during the NSAS, I was there live, standing up for my rights. Thank you.
Well, those were just a few that, what the youth are saying about the issue of knowing and understanding their rights. And thanks to Janet, who gave us a bit of insight into what the youth should know about their rights. Now, in addition to that, Festus, I also wanted to ask, there's been certain situations where a police is harassing someone, especially on the road, and these youths bring out their phones to make videos or record what's going on, and they say that that should be allowed in the Constitution. But then we see situations where the security personnel are breaking their phones and threatening them with guns. What does the Constitution say about that? Festus, are you there? Okay, then I think I'm going to direct the question at Rosemary. Rosemary, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, Blessing. Can you hear me as well?
Yes, I can, loud and clear. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I heard you loud and clear. You were asking about what the Constitution says with regards to the right to record.
Yes, please.
Situations where young people are trying to gather evidence about their rights being violated.
Yes, please. Okay, I think Rosemary's network is fluctuating a bit. Janet, can you hear us? Okay,
I can hear you clearly.
All right, great. So I think, since you started it, you would be in a good position to answer the question. So did you get the question, or would you like me to repeat myself?
Yeah, I would like you to repeat.
Okay, so I was saying that there are certain situations where people, not just youths now, generally people are harassed on the road by security personnel, sometimes for doing something illegal, and sometimes they just stopped on the road and asked like very unreasonable questions. And in those situations, these people bring out their phones to record, which from what we understand should be allowed in the Constitution. But then you see security personnel breaking these devices and even threatening them with guns. What does the Constitution say about being able to record when you're faced with this kind of situation?
We all have one of our rights is one of our fundamental rights is the right to property and compensation for property that is compulsorily acquired. So it is wrong for a law enforcement agency to destroy the property of a Nigerian citizen or a Nigerian youth, and it is also wrong to hit a citizen with guns. It's against the right to dignity. These rights should not be violated by law enforcement agency or any other person. So, can you hear me?
Well, it's fluctuating a bit. There seems to be a glitch.
Okay. So I said it is against the right to dignity of human person, and also it is against the right to property as enshrined in our Constitution. So it is unacceptable. It is not right for a law enforcement agency to hit a youth or a Nigerian citizen with guns or to seize and destroy their phones. You have a right to personal property. So it is against your right to personal dignity. And if you have evidence that that has been done to you, and I think you can approach the court to seek redress and to enforce your rights, your fundamental rights.
All right, thank you for that, Janet. Now, very quickly, Festus, I want to ask, is there any situation or any circumstance under which a person's right can be infringed upon according to the Constitution? For example, let's say someone takes another person's life and then he's sentenced to death. His right to life has been taken away from him. Are there any other instances where a person do not have the right or are entitled to do certain things because of their actions?
Oh, absolutely. I know, as a matter of fact, that under Section 45 of the Constitution, there are derogations to some of these rights, because at the end of the day, no right is absolute. You know, from the right to life to the right to freedom of expression, right to personal liberty, the right to privacy and family life, and the rest of this, they are not absolute. However, for example, the right to freedom of expression does not extend to libel, does not extend to slander, or sometimes does not extend to sedition. Equally, the right to freedom of movement, while it is adequately guaranteed, might be derogated from, say, for example, during a period of insurrection, war, or when a state of emergency is declared. You know, so indeed, while these rights are guaranteed under the Constitution, there are instances when they can be derogated from, on the understanding that no right is absolute. But one important point that we have to note is that the fundamental rights of our people can only be derogated in accordance with the provisions of a law validly enacted by the National Assembly or the State House of Assembly. When this law is enacted, it is from that law that can reasonably derogate from the express rights that has been, clearly provided for under the Constitution. Now, this law made by the National Assembly or the State House of Assembly, derogating the rights enshrined in Chapter 4 of the Constitution, has to be reasonably justifiable in a democratic society. So, if there is even a law made to derogate from the fundamental rights provided under Section 24 of Chapter 4 of the Constitution, and such a law makes provisions that are not reasonably justifiable in a democratic society, then such a law can be declared unconstitutional.
Okay.
For being
all right. Thank you for that, Festus.
In violation of the Constitution.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Festus. We're pressed for time, so we need to wrap up this segment. But I would really like to say a very big thank you to Festus Oguns, legal practitioner. Also, thanks in absentia to Rosemary Ochiwo, lawyer and programs associate, Hope Behind Bars. And of course, a big thank you to Janet Awo as well, a lawyer and youth development and gender equality advocate. Thank you so much for the insights you brought to this segment of the program. We really do appreciate.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you for staying with us on Fafanua Africa. Now, let's take a quick look at the ongoing United Nations General Assembly in New York. Now, at this point, we're well aware of the need for transformative steps to embed the 2030 agenda. But what role can the youths play? Participation in decision-making is one of the key priority areas of the United Nations agenda on the youth. Now, one form of youth participation at the United Nations is through the inclusion of youth delegates in a country's official delegation to the United Nations General Assembly and, of course, various functional commissions of the Economic and Social Council. Now, two questions to ask. Are we involving the youth enough? One. And then another question is, are the youths even ready to join these conversations in the first place? And to join me have this conversation and talk about this, I have my guest all the way from Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, Tatenda Kombura Unika, a writer and a blogger. Thank you, Tatenda, for joining us.